derem o like, se inscreverem e derem o like, é acobertado por Deus e o Divino Espírito Santo. E se não derem o like, está acompanhado com todos os cães que tiver no inferno: Caim, Satanás, Pão Grosso e Parafuso, Botafogo, Lucifer, que é o chefe de lá, e meu avô, que é o comandante de tudo. Botar para arrombar em vocês, tudo aí.
Ocean Software was not one of my favorite publishers back in the day. As the European acclaim, they flooded the market with licensed video games that were usually not very good. North America was spared the majority of their output, which few thank God. Every now and then, however, a gem would escape their dungeon. The 1992 Addams Family movie was a phenomenon and genuinely great. While it is an odd one for a licensed title, somehow Ocean turned out a solid platformer loosely based on the movie. As I mentioned, the game only slightly follows the film plot. In the movie, Abigail Craven plans to steal the Addams family fortune with an imposter Uncle Fester. Amazingly, the game was only created in a few months. It could not follow it to the letter. That was probably for the best. In the game, Abigail kidnaps the members of the Addams family and hidden them around the family estate. As Gomez, you must rescue them individually to open the way to the vault and recover their stolen riches. The Addams Family is a platformer typical of the era. Gomez moves very fast and unfortunately control is a little slippery. He slides around in his movements, but you retain full control, which offsets it somewhat. The staple but bounce is his primary attack, but you can find a rapier and golf balls as secondary weapons. Unfortunately, you lose them when hit, which is a choice I do not like. The game has a lot of tight spaces where you cannot bounce on enemies. If you kept either weapon permanently, or if they appeared more frequently, it would have made the game less frustrating. Gomez has free rein to explore almost the entire mansion from the start. The hall of stairs grants access to every part of the mansion, from the kitchen to the conservatory. In addition, there are a few outdoor areas that are optional and well worth exploring. The structure suggests a Metroid-style adventure, but this is not that. Gomez does not gain any new weapons or abilities depending on the order you tackle his abode. Some areas are more difficult than others, but that is the only difference. The level design is generally pretty great. Each area of the mansion has unique platforming challenges to test your skills. The individual rooms are named and often clue you in as to what to expect. Jester's Jump is a cramped room that forces you to make tough leaps in tight spaces lest you die in one shot. If there is one weak spot, it would be the kitchen. The conservatory and its various plant-themed rooms strikes a nice balance between precise platforming and free-form action. These frozen areas highlight the worst aspects of the controls. Ice stages in games are frustrating as is, but with the already slippery controls, these are particularly annoying. Secrets are everywhere and the game is gracious enough to provide subtle hints. You will need them as the Addams family puts up a fight. The game's generosity with extra lives belies the fact that it is very difficult. Within the first 5 minutes it is possible to earn 12 lives with little effort. The reason being, you will need them. When you start, you have a 2 heart life bar. You can eventually expand that to 5, but the game is still rough. The platforming is creative at times but quickly delves into advanced territory. Due to the slippery controls, you will take cheap hits left and right. Depending on the area you visit first, you are in for a rough time. Despite that, the Addams family is fair. It is extremely generous with its extra lives and you respawn a few feet from where you died. Life-restoring hearts are also placed after troublesome areas. The challenge may be unconventional for a licensed title but is manageable overall. Even though it closely resembles many of the subpar European platformers of that era, the Addams Family is still a pretty game. The art style is suitably dark and special effects are non-existent. The quality varies from one area to the next. The graveyard and its subterranean levels are beautiful. But the library is incredibly bland. Some locations drag on longer than they should, which makes the backgrounds repetitive, but as a whole the production values are higher than expected for a licensed title. The Addams Family was a pleasant surprise. I did not expect much but found a solid game that is better than it has any right to be. It still is not one of the first platformers I would recommend on the SNES, but is worth it for those that have exhausted the majority of the system's platformer library. Who doesn't know the Addams Family? Sprouted from the brain of cartoonist Charles Addams, the original cartoon with black humor has gone on to spawn movies and even video games on all different consoles. But today we're here to talk about the Addams Family for the Genesis/Mega Drive. Though it seems to be based on the first movie that came long after the successful series, which ran from 1964 to 1966, the story doesn't follow the same plot. Instead of a lawyer and two con men attempting to steal the family's fortune by posing as Uncle Fester, in this story all the family members are kidnapped by the judge and Tully the lawyer. It's now up to Gomez, Raul Julia in his best role, to save the day, his family members, and their own home. The games start at the mansion where you can dive right in or you can go anywhere to look for your family members. You can even go into the old tree searching for money and extra lives, as well as find hidden places. Did I say hidden places? Addams Family is loaded with them. Even when you die you can go to the exit screen, and there is a hidden area to get 3 extra lives. The action is centered on finding your family members and also finding money, which is spread everywhere, to get a big high score. Everyone but Lurch and Thing have been abducted, and the Thing aids Gomez on his quest by offering hints. Once you go into the mansion there are several doors to go through, each of which leads to a different room, all of which serve as levels, ranging from the kitchen to the garden, basement, and attic. There are also hidden doors that you can only find by pressing up on the D-pad at certain areas, just like in the Master System game Wonder Boy in Monsterland. The whole adventure is primarily one big search, and there's a lot to see and find. To get through the game, Gomez must find and use all kinds of weapons to help him, such as a sword and jumping shoes. Additionally, enemies can be destroyed by jumping on them. These enemies come in all sizes and shapes but aren't too hard to kill. In fact, it's quite easy to eliminate them. Luckily, the controls are responsive, something that makes jumping on enemies the stock attack method most of the time. And now about the bad things in the game. First off, the graphics, which are nice, aren't too detailed. It's not like things come off as a rush job, but I think they could have done more with the backgrounds. Sometimes they're just bland with the same on repeating over and over again. The music is also very repetitive. Most of the time it's the same melody from the series and the movies, and while that's nice if you like that particular theme, it does tend to grate after a while. To be fair, there are a few other tracks, but they're nothing to write home about, and there's not a single tune that's going to make you whistle along. Perhaps the biggest problem with Addams Family is that it does absolutely nothing that hasn't been done 1,000 times before. The typical hop and bop gameplay that platformers all used at the time is especially dull here. The few power-ups offered are unimaginative and often not even needed, golf balls. Really? Furthermore, the Addams mansion is huge, and offers a lot of different stages to explore, but you're doing exactly the same thing in all of them. Since the series and movies portrayed the house as one filled with all kinds of mysterious and macabre items and areas, it would have been nice to have seen this incorporated in the game. At least there's a password system, so you never have to start from the beginning. I'd have to base my rating on the initial play though, since an already easy game just becomes easier the second time you play. At least then you have the benefit of finding all the secret areas, since you've gotten past the learning curve. Of course, you could always use a FAQ and just find all the areas the first time, but then the fun is over, and the game goes back to collecting dust on your shelf. Overall, Addams Family is a bland adventure that's not a bad purchase if you can find it cheap. Yes, there's a lot of exploration and hidden items, but the gameplay is nothing special. Moreover, when you've finished it and found everything there is, you most likely won't be coming back to it. Just watch the movies if you need more for your Addams fix. They are much more fun than playing this. Heck, even Part 3 direct-to-video is more fun.